Greetings, Patrick here, Eight Questions With. Welcome to another fun-filled week of action and adventure. Some very talented people are coming by to say hello this week, and we are so glad they are. Man, February is flying by. It really is. It is crack-a-lacking here. Um, well, the weather's nice. That's good. It was pretty warm actually today. Um, Our guest tonight will be a film producer and director. Um, Mia Holly Kim will be here with us in about 10, 15 minutes or so. And we will be talking about her career and some of her latest projects. She is just now, as far as getting her career going, she is just now launching it. So you know us. This is our favorite place to be, is right here watching stars launch. It's a lot of fun. That's the part. I don't get me wrong. I mean, I love talking to established stars, and I'll do that any day of the week. But there's just something really fun about talking to someone who's just getting going. Um, Now, it doesn't mean that this is the only first four things she's ever done. I'm sure she probably has a background in stage and maybe even crew some other films. You know, everybody has to get their start somewhere. But as far as Mia goes, as far as becoming a filmmaker, she is still in her beginning stages of her career. And so we will be talking to her about that and on about, like I said, about 10, 15 minutes. Um, let's see. Well, today was library day. So I went down to the library. Um, First of all, my car had problems again. Um, Found out that the battery that I had is not a very good battery. So we had to get a new one. Um, and so that helped out a lot. I didn't get to the library till literally like 10 minutes till, but I got to walk in with our friend Cynthia, who's the clerk there. So I got in and I found myself at the bottom of the line. I was number 10 in line. Now, most of the time I'm either one or two, sometimes three. Um, and so generally everybody goes down to the books. But there were a couple of people I know that bought films that were ahead of me, and so I was a little bit like, okay, are they gonna hit there first? And you know, like, because it's really dog eat dog world in a sense. You know, you got there first, you know, it's first come first serve. Uh, hey Echo, how are you? How are you? So I'm standing in the line and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I think that the people right in front of me, they're gonna go straight to the movie shelf. And then one of the resellers says, "Well, it's a good thing you showed up because there's a lot of stuff there today." So you know, like, uh-oh. So we go in and lo and behold, everybody lit out for the books. Everybody. Even the 2 film people that I know that do buy films, they all headed down to the book section. So even though I was sitting there in 10th, I still got to have first crack at it. And they said, "Well, it's a good day for you to show up. There's a lot of stuff here, this and that." And I looked, they were right. They had a ton of stuff on the new shelf, and but it was all common stuff. I know, me saying that, right? I'm saying it's all common, and at the same time, I'm not kidding you. At the same time, I'm thinking it's all common stuff, but give it a 2 or 3 years, and it won't be so common. It won't be so hard to find. I mean, it won't be so easy to find, right? Um, but I looked, as far if I had just to go just on the Blu-rays and DVDs, I would have walked out of there with just 2. That was it. Though they had easily about 150 of them on the shelves. They had a ton, but I only found 2 that I would actually keep. But then they said, "Well, we had to put some other stuff over here on the regular shelf." So I went around the corner there, and then they had a ton of TV series, a ton. Um, so I immediately filled up my bag. This week was bag sale week, so I immediately filled up my bag. I put the video out. You guys can go see what I got. I got one complete series. I thought I had bought a duplicate of one season, but I did not. I bought the one I needed to have. So I ended up getting, I had one season of Brothers and Sisters at home already, and I got the other 4 years at the bookstore today. So it's another complete series that I'll be able to binge watch. Um, a lot of people say, well, why? Why are you getting so many TV series? Simply put, I never saw them. I never saw them when they were on TV. I used to read about them. I would read newspaper articles or internet articles and stuff like that. But when it came down to actually sitting down and watching them, I never did that. I never did that. So this is a chance for me to do so. So the hall went from from zero to hero, went around the corner. And then the lady who runs the bookstore, the president of the bookstore, commented that next week will also be very good because there's going to be some library movies out there. So wow, I'm really hoping that's the case because we have not had any library movies of any sort of strength in a very long time. And we've had a couple here and a couple of there, but that's about it. So um, so it was a pretty good. It was pretty good. It was pretty good haul today. I was pretty happy about it. Um, so let's see. Uh, Me and the Cheetah, we watched One Night Rental. We watched that. We're gonna be doing our review of that tonight as soon as we get done with the show here. Oh, um, do they have 8 tracks? Because 8 tracks. No, no, no. They do have VHS though, Echo. Um, if there's any VHS tapes that you guys want, I should put this on the other channel too. If there's a VHS tape that you want, let me know because I got them to sell VHS tapes again. They weren't accepting of those, but I told them that if they put them out there, people will be buying them because people are buying VHS tapes, as you know. So if there's any horror or mystery or what have you that you want that you don't have, let me know. I will definitely keep my eye out for it. They don't have any. They don't have any. Hi Sue, how are you? How are you? Um, Yeah, if you want VHS tapes, let me know. Um, we can make arrangements for sure. Okay, always okay. Let me know what specific titles you're looking for. So if you have like a wish list or whatnot, let me know and I'll start looking for it. Yeah, I told the lady there that VHS tapes after the library was giving away for free for a while, and then they weren't doing them at all anymore. And when she was asking us questions about it, I said that VHS tapes are popular right now and that people are buying them. And if you put them in here, people will buy them again. And so they have started carrying VHS tapes again. Now that won't happen with CDs. That won't happen with CDs. But VHS tapes, yes. Dumb and Dumber, so a zombie and slasher. Okay, all right, I can do that. I can. I'm going back down to the bookstore, to the library bookstore on Saturday, because I want to see if I'm going to see if there's anything down there that's been left over. Though I do believe that everybody picked over it. I don't expect anything there, but I'm thinking they might put out I mean, they might put out the library movies out early. Yeah, I always feel like they've always held back when they do bag sale. I don't always feel like they put everything they got out on the shelf because all the resellers are like, and myself are like locusts. We come in there, we take everything, and then when the regular people come in after we're done, there's nothing left. And I don't think that's really a good thing, personally. I personally don't think that's a good thing. That's why I never take more than what I need. They have duplicate copies there many, many times. I never touch them. A lot of times I get duplicates only if there's a request or if I do it by accident, but I don't intentionally do it on purpose. In fact, they had 2 seasons of 1923. I got one for myself. I got one for one of the TV guys. Yeah, I don't take anything more than what I need. Dumber and Dumber is about, I don't know. I don't think that got released though. I think Dumb and Dumber got released on VHS, Echo, but I don't think Dumber and Dumber did. I think that's strictly DVD and Blu-ray. Oh, look, who knows? I kind of want 2024 to be a retro. Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that because I'm actually watching. Okay, so this week for what I watched on oh, for one thing, I gotta say right off the bat, last week was absolutely phenomenal for the show. Wow, what a fun week last week was. We had Joe Lujan on, we had Don on. Uh, um, he came on the show, super fun. Um, a lot of fun actually. We had we had the wonderful band Boo Sweat on, and we also had Joe Cornette for a watch party, along with Corin Nemec. Corin Nemec was on as well, and then we had a watch party with Joe Cornette, Kerry Goodwin, and composer Sean Murray. Um, that was a lot of fun too, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of people because as I looked, we have almost 500 views on that bad boy, which is really outstanding for me. I'm totally shocked. I was hoping to break 100, but we you guys really responded to that, and a lot of people came by and supported the show. Um, let's see. Oh, Dumb and Dumber is about me. They owe me money for making a movie about me. Damn it. Uh, I was trying to think of who would I pair up with Echo with that. Um, cool, because we already got Bones paired up with the Ice Lord for secondhand ballas. Uh, let's see. Who would we put? I guess we could put you up with Steven. I mean, Dumb and Dumber in the House of Horrors. Oops, did I say that? Stop it, Cheetah. Um, no, let's see. But speaking of retro, like you were talking about retro, so I've been gone back and I started rewatching Silent Hill. Man, that's a good movie. Man, I love the first movie. That's a weird. That is a weird two movies where you love the first movie so much. The first movie is so good on every level, and then the sequel comes out and is as good as the first movie is. The second one is pure shit. It's just, and that's the Silent Hill Revelations. Oh man, that movie's terrible. Holy crow, man, that's terrible. But the first Silent Hill is fire. Oh my gosh, that's such a good movie. Um, really enjoyed that. Okay. Okay. Looks like I am battling who am I battling here? We are battling here. Let's see. Looks like we are Okay, look, Zack Attack is on tonight. All right, all right, all right. Okay, looks like the community is busy today. It always is. It always is, isn't it? Yeah, Zack Attack is on for news. So yep. Yeah, it's interesting. And speaking of news, the Rubber Duckies, the third annual Rubber Duckies is going on. Um, no, I never played the game. I never play the game, Bobby. I went and I watched the movie and I absolutely fell in love with the movie. That is where I fell in love with Laurie Holden. Laurie Holden is she's awesome. Laurie Holden is awesome. That's where I became an instant fan of hers. Her Sybil was just amazing. Such a great character too. The sequel less so. Yeah, yeah. No kidding. No kidding. I actually I like asking that question of young directors and whatnot when they get up here. In fact, we'll ask this of Mia when she gets here. But I always feel like because this has happened before with Josh Trank, and it's happened with Kevin Thomas from The Vigil. Um, but a lot of times a director will come out and they'll make their very first movie and then they get usually get asked to join up to the big leagues, and a lot of times they get handled a remake or a sequel. And like to me, there's been a few directors that have said straight out, if I asked them, I says, well, if you got handed the keys to like a franchise, like the Evil Dead or The Exorcist or what have you, would you take the keys with that? Would you go ahead and make a movie? And you'd be surprised how many of these folks have said no, no, and I don't blame them. I don't. Um, I heard that Silent Hill was actually there are a couple of towns in Pennsylvania, I believe, Echo, that this is based on, that there's still fire even today. It's still burning out of control. I'm not out of control, but it's still burning. All right, the doorbell just rang. The doorbell rang, so you know what that means. In fact, we will go ahead and invite our guest on. So please welcome the lovely producer, director, and screenwriter, and other multi hyphenates, Mia Holly Kim. Let's go. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Ye- Hi. How are you, Mia?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Good. We've already started. We're already starting to talk in the chat here. And so we thought we'd go ahead and jump you with this question right off the bat, even before we say hi and welcome to the show, and you look fabulous. We're going to ask you this question. So, if you got a chance to direct the new Silent Hill movie, I don't know, you know you've seen Silent Hill?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you got asked right now and at this point in your career to direct Silent Hill, would you do it or no, and why?
I would. I think it's a little bit difficult because, I'm at a point in my career when you're asked to direct something like that. I think anyone in my position would say yes to pretty much it. I mean, there are genres I would say no to, but that one, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think I think with something like that, there's quite a lot of direction. You're directing to something that's already sort of got its obviously its following. It's I would understand that that's something that I'm not going to put quite my kind of my own imprint on to the degree it's something I've written myself. But just to yeah, absolutely, I would.
Um, yeah, because the first one came out and was just beautifully directed by Christopher Gans, and I mean it's a classic. It really is. It is really weird. It's so weird. It's like as good as that first movie was, and it's a it's a gorgeous movie. It's haunting. It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. The
Yeah,
music, everything about it. It's yeah,
everything is right. This is what a horror movie is supposed to be about, and it's empowered. It's powered by
absolutely.
women. But then you got Silent Hill Revelations, and you could not have gone further from the first one than that movie. I barely made it through the second one. Uh, Only the strength of the cast kept me in it. That's the only thing, because the story was just it was bad. It was really bad, and
How'd you feel? Mhm.
it I was furious. I'm like, how could you guys mess this up? But the good news is that they are coming back with Return to Silent Hill. They're a pre-production as we speak, and we will be getting a new Silent Hill movie, and I do believe that we'll be seeing some of the original cast come in, and so I think that
And
so we can forget that we can forget Revelation.
so
The
on
first
the
rule of Silent Hill is we don't speak of Revelation. Now, now is the part of the show. Now we say, "Hi, Mia. Welcome to the show. You look fabulous.
thank you so
Glad
much.
you're
Thank you
here."
so much.
Now,
Thank you so much.
now that we threw our first fastball at you. Um, I'm tickled because this is the kind of show that I really enjoy quite a bit. Um, I enjoy talking to artists and creatives that are just sort of launching themselves. Not to say, like I said in my pre-show, it's not like you haven't done anything at all. It's just like now you're starting to put something together. Now you have 4 projects underneath your belt. Now you've been working all this time to get to where you're at right now. But every project moving forward will most likely be a little bit bigger for you. And and that's the part
Fingers
I
crossed. Yeah.
oh yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. No doubt about that. You definitely are hardworking, and you know what you want, and you're driven for it. You're focused. You can tell that by just reading by your social media posts, which is how I discovered you, and because I really like the drive that you have, and I said, she's going someplace, and let's get in,
Thank
let's get in on it before she blows up. Um,
Well, that thank you. And I think the way where, we've encountered each other, I think there's not a whole lot of community. And so that's a big part of what I hope to do is I don't think there's a lot of community in in indie film or people who are sort of coming up. And I think as soon as someone kind of crosses through the barrier, that wall, which we all know is there, where anyone who's ever wanted to make a film, made a film, we know it's like, you can't get access to agents, to producers, to managers, to screenings, to events, any of these things. Everyone is trying so hard. And once anyone goes through, it's like, bye. I mean, there's very little. This is my feeling now, and just let's see in a year, 5 years, if I make a big film, if but I feel like there's not a lot of kind of community of people saying, look, this is what it took. This is what it took for me to get to the other side, to make a big film, to get an agent, to be able to have access to the industry really, and to be able to make films and to get to do all these things. And I feel like once people have done those things, it's like, what, they're off and running, and no one says, wait, when you how did you do it, people are sort of gone. And so I would love right now, as I'm kind of trying to get to that next step, to bring people along, and to make it make sense, so that other people, hopefully I get there to the other side. And I would love to sort of have people understand what it took, because it's hard, it's really really difficult, and
oh,
I don't see a lot of
it
people
is.
telling the story of how they did it.
Yeah, we've had quite a few filmmakers sit in that chair where you're at there, and they do say that it is hard, but
It's
it's even
very
more
hard.
harder. It's even more harder for women, and it's even more difficult for
Women
persons
of
of
color.
color. So,
Absolutely.
it's absolutely, what's funny, it's like, it seems like the strike, ever since it seemed like the strike has ended for me, it seems like people have put the bit in their mouth a little bit more as far as competitiveness goes, and they're
Right.
running a little bit
I see that.
harder than they did. They're running harder
I
than they
see that.
did before that, because, it's like, people wanna, it's like everything is being, with the different companies, they're joining, they're joining each other, they're creating even more of a conglomerate, which means the playing field gets lessened and lessened. Pretty soon there's like, they say there's like, 4 or 5 companies that basically control our media, control
Yeah.
what we see, what we watch.
Hmm.
And to get into that group of 5, it's
Yeah.
rough. It's
It's
rough.
rough. It's rough. It's rough.
Uh,
It's rough. Absolutely. And I see that. I think everyone was scared by being out of work for the most part for a better part of a year, and I think people are still catching up, and so I see that. I think people are holding things close. They're holding them tight. They don't want, they don't want to lose any momentum they've gained post strike. So I get that, and I think I can't blame people for feeling that way. But it's also not really helpful if we talk about sort of, filmmaking as a community. It's not great, but I
well, well,
understand it.
well, but you've established your little community. You've gotten some projects on the ground and gotten them on the screen. Um, one of the questions I've always asked, and because it always perplexes me. It always perplexes me is in the fact that a lot of people, they get together on a project and you watch them and they'll do interviews and they'll do behind the scenes. You always hear the same thing. You always hear about the family, a family, family. You feel like you're watching a Fast and Furious movie more than you are watching a doc. But the fact of the matter is, I hear that a lot, that, we're like family. But it seems like as soon as the project ends, that sense of community, the sense of community that you had during that filming, it goes. It just it evaporates. So instead of sitting there, it's almost like you have to make sure when you first start your project that you have to make sure like you get all the information of the people you're working with beforehand, like get the Rolodex going, like I got this guy cinematographer, I got I got a line producer, I got some good, but people don't really seem to hold on to the connections that they make during a project. I have a feeling that's not you, is it, Mia? I have a feeling
No.
you, yeah,
No, no.
I have a feeling you have everybody that you've ever worked with, you have them on speed dial.
Right. And I think that sense of family is absolutely true, because there's nothing that's as intense and harrowing as shooting a film when you've got limited time, you've got people together for this short period of time, you're on location, you've got your cinematographer for only so long, your actors for only so long. And so it's really it's like a crisis the entire time you're together. So you do bond, and you do, I think, form those connections. And for me, absolutely, these are people I'm in touch with every day. Like you said, they're my speed dials, the lead actors, my DP producer, my, you know, costume designer, we're in touch all the time. And I think that you need that. You need that because it is so hard when the budget's tight, time is tight. You need those sorts of connections. But I will say that it's also difficult to bring those people together. That's the biggest challenge, I think, and especially if you're talking again about indie films where you don't have unlimited money, you don't have, um, yeah, you've got to really, everything's tight. You have to make decisions about who you can get. That there are always going to be some places, like, I didn't have, I changed producers a couple of times in pre-production, so that wasn't great. And then so I think when you do find those people, you want to work with them forever. Like, I feel like the people I work with now, I want to work with them for the rest of my career. And so you really hope to find those people, and you some of it's luck, but if you meet those people, I think you hold tight.
Um, So I guess my first question, and the only question I really ever have that's actually sort of preset, is where were you born and raised at?
I was born and raised in DC, or right outside DC in Maryland.
Okay,
So suburban DC. That's where I
okay,
grew up until I moved to New York to go to NYU when I was 17.
okay.
And that was all because I wanted to go, I wanted to make movies. I wanted access to movies. I wanted, so that was all about being in film and wanting that access. When I couldn't wait to get out of Maryland.
Now, when you say you wanted to do movies, now were you oh, and Bobby says that Silver Springs rules. That's right. That's right.
I wasn't.
Silver
Yeah, I
Springs.
was in. I was in PG County, which is Silver Spring. Yep, I know
Uh,
Silver Spring.
uh,
I
uh,
agree.
that's our good friend Bobby. He's a journalist for Film Threat magazine. Our
Ah, hi, Bobby.
And we have Dell just walked in, and we have our friend Echo Zero here as well. He said hello.
Hi.
And yeah. So did you always did you want to be, like you said, you wanted to do the movies? Were you always did you want to be in front of the camera? Because quite honestly, without saying, you're stunning. You actually, I mean, when I was, when I saw you had done some acting. I'm going like, yeah, I can see that. But did you ever want to be an actress, or would you always want to be behind it,
Um.
creating?
Well, thank you. I've always wanted to write and direct, but I did. You know, I my career is a little bit. Um, it's not been linear, and I think a lot of people in film, unlike a lot of careers, corporate careers, whatever, it is. You take different turns, especially because it's such a hard thing to break into. There is no set path. So I worked in tech, and then I was in tech media. I was tech reporter. I hosted a TV show. So I've been in front of the camera, but not acting. So
Oh,
so yeah,
so
my
you'll always
ambition is
be
always to direct.
always to become a filmmaker. That that's
Yeah.
that's really interesting for 17 too, because a lot of times, a lot of folks, they don't come across, they don't get that side of it until later on. Most of the teenagers we know, they've always, like, they might fool around with the 8 millimeter camera, but the
Yeah.
majority of teens, you ask, what do you want to do? And I want to be an actor. I want to,
Right.
I want to, yeah. So that's really cool. At 17, you already knew that you wanted to be a director. Um,
Yeah.
what was your reaction to that, though, when you expressed it? Did you express that to your parents? Did you tell your parents that this is something you wanted to do, and you're willing to
Oh
work
yeah.
for it?
Yeah, yeah. And I come from family. My parents were Korean immigrants, so they worked really hard. They owned a can't get more Korean immigrant than this, but they own convenience stores. So I kind of grew up inside of a 7-Eleven, um, in the back room of a 7-Eleven because that's what they did. Then my dad actually went to go work for the Defense Department. So not my whole life, but when I was a little kid. And partially it was like, I had my TV, my VCR at the 7-Eleven. I read magazines, that kind of, so I think they understood I was kind of a lonely kid. I think that sort of typical when you come very obsessed, I think, with media, with films. I think that's kind of probably a typical thing where I didn't have really a normal childhood. So I think they understood. All my siblings, and I've got three of them, they're lawyers. So it wasn't exactly, and they're all a lot older than I am. And so I think that's what they hoped I would choose too. It's a little, it's obviously easier. I don't think anyone thinks, oh, you want to be a film director? Great. That sounds great. That sounds easy. I think it's they hope you choose another path, but they weren't discouraging, but I think there was always that hope. I would say, you know what, I should go to law school.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
but you didn't. I mean, I think once they saw that you were serious about it, and did you go to university for this? Did you go to
I
film school?
Yeah, I went to Tisch, I went to NYU.
Okay. So that's probably
Um,
when they realized that this is like
yeah,
this is where she really wants to do this. She's going to
right.
a very prestigious school. So I mean, they just don't let anybody in, and so you have to show the drive, the initiative, and the skill set to get in there. And once they saw that you did that, then they turn around, then they went ahead and supported you, right?
Yeah, and I think I would say so. Certainly, they wanted me. Once I got in, there was no way. I did early decision to NYU, and there was no way I wasn't going to go. Um, so I think I didn't give them a choice in that. It wasn't like I was saying, you know what, or I'll do this. It was like that's what I was going to do. So I think they knew they had to get behind me. I think, that day in which they can say and I can say, look, it was all worth it. Aren't you glad you supported me? Aren't you glad I insisted? Well, you know what? It hasn't. Let's see. I'm still kind of getting there. So that day in which we say, look, wasn't it all worth it? I'm waiting for the day. And but just doing it and being able to do it because I did, I did some years in another career where I felt every day this sadness, this like sense of not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I don't feel that anymore, even if it's hard. I think this is a common thing too with people who work in film. It's like they can't do anything else, right? I mean, there's just nothing else that's gonna like feed your soul and all the cliches. It's like it's just burning and eating you. You have to do it. And I think if you feel that, you really can't do anything else.
Did you end up getting your law degree?
No, but I did go back to school and I got a degree in computer science. So I did every kind of, so I did fulfill one kind of Asian cliche. So I did go back to school, but not law school.
Let's talk a little bit about that. That's something we'll talk. We'll hit that head on because that's what we do here. So tell us about your experience being a Korean American at NYU. Were you accepted? Did you experience any prejudice or any negativity when you're going to school, or were people more open minded and were they helpful for you when you were at school?
Mm, well, you know what? I No, I didn't feel like I had many difficulties with that, like feeling discriminated against, or in fact, it was the opposite. Where first of all, NY, they like with many schools, I think they're careful. Where we had, I don't know if it was 60% women, and you certainly had a certain threshold of people of color, lots of international students. So there were a lot of students from China, from Korea, from Japan, from all over the world, from India. And so you get this sense of it being so global and welcoming and opening, and just like, no one, I feel like this is, and I would love to bring it up to anyone at NYU wants to talk about it, is I don't think they do a very good job of telling you, you know what, this is not what it's like. You go to Hollywood, it's not going to be like, yeah, you know what, it's like even footing for everybody. It's not. And so I think no, it was a great experience, and it was did not reflect the real world, but it was very good.
You wish they would have told you that the glass ceiling was a little bit thicker than what you thought it was what it was.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And I remember just feeling the entire, I mean, until I graduate, everything, I just felt like, you know what? Maybe I'll go and I'll write for a show for a few years until I direct my first film. That, I don't mind doing that. And I thought that was just guaranteed. That was just, there was no like, oh, you're going to have to work in a diner. You're going to have to, do anything. Like that didn't occur to me, which is really, really stupid, but you don't get a lot of real world sort of advice and experience. People telling you, you know what, think about an actual trade that you can get into right away, whether it's something more based in something technical, say, editorial assistant, something you can instantly get, not instantly, but more easily get a job. And no one is hiring 21-year-old directors and writers, particularly if you're an Asian American woman. It's going to be really, really hard. It's going to be, that's devastating. That was devastating to get here. And then I left because it was like, what is going on? I mean, it was, so I feel like it was Not like the real world, but it was wonderful.
So but you got your feet west, your feet wet in L.A.
Yeah,
Man, that's a little rough. Um,
yeah,
uh, Now you're only 21 coming out from New York and then coming out to LA, and you're right. You
yeah,
know, you sort of wish that colleges would do that, universities would do that, you know? You wish that they would tell students that,
yeah,
it's, like I know a lot of people we've talked to here, they said that their parents were very supportive of their choices, but they wanted them to have a fallback profession. Like, like we don't want you to starve out there. Like if that's all
hmm
you know is acting, you don't have a profession, then
yeah,
your inability to stay out there is going to be, your ability to stay out there is going to be
yeah.
compromised because you have to eat, you have to pay rent. So you did so when you hit LA and LA was sort of like rough and tumble. Did you
Yeah.
stay there and go to school, or did you come back home and go back to school for your computer science
I went
degree?
back to NYU. I went back to NYU. I went back to where it felt safe, where it felt, where everything felt like I knew what was going on. I knew how to get to the next step. And so I went back to school, which yeah, that's what I did. And with the thought, my thought was that, obviously everything was going still, is going digital, right? So my thought is that I would love to learn the skills, have the tools for things like virtual reality, for AI, all this stuff, which now it's like it's all kind of crashing on us. But obviously the all that's been coming up for a long time. So knowing that, my even with something that seems so far afield of film, that my idea was, it's all converging. It's all converging. I want to know about it. This is going to matter. It's going to matter to movies. It's going to matter to storytelling, to writing, and so, which is obviously computer. No one's really. That's not really what you're doing when you're getting a tech degree. You're doing coding and stuff like that. But it's all For me, it was all trying to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to. I needed another way to break in. I needed to understand these tools that were obviously going to be really important.
We have a question from our journalist friend Bobby. He mentions to you, Mia, says, "How does your computer science degree influence your filmmaking choices?"
Well, I would say right now, it just in the stories I want to tell, there's so much that is about technology. People who've seen the short I just made say it seems like an episode of Black Mirror, or it seems like it's reminiscent of Her or Ex Machina, because I'm very focused on the ideas how machines affect us emotionally, because I feel like that's not been delved into so much, and particularly now, obviously, saying that, yeah, it was in Her, it was in Ex Machina. It's not.
Sure,
It's been explored, but for me, take I think a little bit of a harder science view of it. I like to think about what's actually possible, what's actually there in the pipeline, instead of it's obviously free, and I think it's fine if you say, you know what, you're taking something that doesn't exist and you're just making it up. I think that's great. That's how we. But for me, there's something. I like the realism. I like to know that I'm thinking about something that's actually possible, something that around the corner. So I wrote this. My film is about it's about an AI, and I wrote it in November 2022, which was and I finished it like 2 weeks before ChatGPT came out in beta. And so nobody was really, and it was so interesting. And I felt like that was in my head. I was just, I was thrilled with myself. I thought, you know what? I knew it. I knew like this is what's going to be the big story. So exploring the emotional side of machines is right now a big, it's all those stories that I thought of when I was studying and learning coding and doing all these things. This is what I was thinking about, and so now that's all coming out. So it's very entwined right now.
It's funny. I saw that earlier. Than her and Ex Machina. There was a series in the '90s, the remake of The Outer Limits, and they dealt with a lot of the stories had them dealing with AI, with and AI, beings and what have you, models and androids and whatnot. It was a pretty much both a staple of the series and also cautionary, um,
Right.
about that. That because it's hard science. It is hard science. It's
Yeah.
not make believe. Now it's maybe 30 years ago, or or when the War of the Worlds came out, or or what have you, it was all fantasy. But now here it is, the stories that we're creating, that we're seeing on here,
Yeah.
now it's for real. Now it's for
It's
real,
for real.
and
Yeah.
not only that, but it's evolving. It's evolving up to where now it's taken over human positions on many different levels, and it's sort of
Yeah.
a how long before we get a totally AI movie, with AI actors and AI directors. I mean, how much how when would that happen? You sense that it will happen within our lifetime. Um,
Well, have you seen what OpenAI put out? Those videos they put out from Sora, their video rendering AI.
no, I have not.
Um, they are some of them are pretty incredible. Like no one's talking. There's no unless I missed that part of the demo. No one's talking. There's no dialogue. But in particular, there was one video that looked like it was some sort of space exploration. There is a close up of someone, side view. If someone had shown me that, I would not have said, "Oh, that's AI." It looks real. It looks real. The face looks real, which is remarkable. The face does not. It's not. The face looks real. It's the eyes look real. And as far I think people are very forgiving about things like space. Like, if it doesn't look perfect, I don't know what like a like a satellite tracker is supposed to look like. I mean, I think we're pretty forgiving about. So all that, that looked fine, but it was those faces. Those faces looked real. It's they're inside of a sort of they're inside of some sort of spaceship. It was incredible, and I thought this is you try and do that for a film, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars of VFX, not to mention millions of dollars of sets, of production design. And it's like, here they did it, and it was a prompt. They demoed the prompt, which was something like, show me a 30-second movie trailer about a movie about going into space, something like that. And here's this thing that's like, you know, just in terms of the production value, let's say, it's it was
There we
great. It was not yeah, it's good. Now, but I think I think it's sooner when you say in our lifetime. I think it's in the next 5 years. But
yeah.
these things weren't it was not written. It was just the scene. If we're saying AI is going to write it, perform it, direct it, I don't think it's going to be good in our lifetime where it's like, wait, you know what?
No.
Christopher Nolan could have done that. Um, Martin Scorsese could have done that. No way, not in our lifetime. Not without a whole lot of human intervention. And so I don't know. I'm not as scared as other people are. I just don't think AIs can really make art. As stupid as that's, I mean, they're not going to credibly be able to show emotion. I mean, it's not there, and I can just sort of see on the kind of tech pipeline side of it and say, you know what, they haven't learned how to do that. And maybe there is going to be some leap forward where it's like, oh my god, they look so. Yeah, I mean that's and actually in my movie they can do that. So but I don't think it's possible. In my movie, I was making like way down the future, way down the road, because I don't think it's possible for a long time for it to be
Uh,
credible, for it to be good.
We have another question, and that's in relation to this. Our good friend Caveman mentions, "What are your thoughts about AI replacing writers and artists?" It's that's but you know what creeps me out more than anything else, Mia, is the fact that especially if especially if you're being asked as a director to do this, I just can't imagine it as a director when if the studio says, "Yeah, we're gonna make a movie with John Wayne. We're gonna use this likeness. We're gonna make AI likeness. We're gonna make a new John Wayne movie based on AI, but we're gonna need a human director to oversee it." That's just I don't know. I just don't see any human director doing that. I just feel them going like, yeah, I'm not really comfortable with that all at all on any level. Am I wrong thinking that way? I mean,
No,
people.
no, you're right. And I'll just tell you on a practical level, because I work, my degree specifically focused on human computer interaction. So it's about those interfaces. It's about how you get the machines to do what you want them to do as a person, And and I think anyone who's even had a little bit of experience, as most of us have, playing with ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the chatbots, they they don't you cannot. I mean, you're not going to be like walking up. I mean, it's not going to be like a movie where you're going to walk up to like Android John Wayne and say, John, you know, make it a little softer. You're a little hard there. Let me see a tear. You're going to type in code,
Yeah, what you want
show
him to do.
show us some emotion, show us a little more, make it softer. You know what? Get a machine to understand that and show that you can't. I mean, it's going to do something like, it's going to then say, oh, softer. It'll do something like, let's put some like feathers on, because that's soft, that feels soft. That's I think we're forgetting this huge divide where it's hard to get these machines to understand. And
Well,
so
well,
that's what you're dealing with. A director has to know how to deal with a machine that's going to respond when you say, make it softer, John. It's going to grow feathers.
what I think is really discouraging in a sense is the fact that we haven't even opened the playing field, opened up for everybody. People like
No,
diversity.
no,
We haven't even opened
I
that up
agree.
yet. And now we're talking about adding into a third player into the mix. You already have it already hard enough trying to crack that ceiling as a person of color and a woman. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
now for them to throw that AI on top of that, yeah, we could get AI writers. I mean, it's eliminated even. I mean, there's not that many jobs out there right now.
At all.
I mean, how many
Yeah.
how many writing rooms actually feature people of color, especially Asian Americans? How many? I'm
I mean,
very few. I'm very few. And the fact of the matter
yeah.
is, it's like now we're turning around. Now we're talking about yet another layer coming in that might even take yet more opportunity and more jobs and more visions. That's the reason why I'm ringing the bell. As far as I'm concerned, I'd be ringing that bell really loud because that to me is just not right. It's like it shouldn't be in today's day and age. We really shouldn't be. It's appalling to hear. It's still appalling to hear when someone wins a major award or something. When you hear somebody say, "Oh, this is the first person in history to win it," they say it like it's a good thing. It's a horrible thing to me.
It's horrible. It's
It's a
horrible. It's
horrible
horrible.
thing. This is the first Korean director to win an Oscar. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. You're trying to tell me in over 100 years of movie making that this is the first time that a Korean director has actually deserved an Oscar. That's some bullshit. It's like this is
Right,
the first
right.
time
And
this is the first time a woman screenwriter has won for original screenplay. 100 years, and this is the first time. It's just inherently bullshit to me. It's like it's discouraging. It's not something to be celebrated. It's something to be discouraged about. Like we shouldn't even be
right.
talking this way. This should be secondhand.
No.
And I'm glad to see after all these years. I'm starting glad to see that when minorities do win awards and when they are recognized for their skill sets and where they or their acting and whatnot, now we're not hearing that nearly as much as we used to. For some people, for some people. Native Americans, we still don't hear anything about, and
Right.
actually, as far as Korean Americans go, we don't hear that much about them as well. I mean, you really are, you really are. I can feel the small room that you're in, and how frustrating it must be. But I also applaud the fact of your drive and your skill, because you are doing it. You do have skills. You are making your craft. Um, so now this is going to be a really weird question to ask after I just said all that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
who were some of the people that you were looked up to and influenced by when you were thinking about becoming a director, or when you started to screenwrite? Who were some of the people that inspired you?
Um, See, I thought this was gonna be, and I actually had to think about this because there's someone that who is quite controversial, and I think, but let's dive in because I think this is something we have to discuss
Sure.
as artists and people who love film. It's something to really think about because it all goes back to, like, why did I want how did I understand when I was so little that I wanted to be a director, that I knew what that whole process was, and I wanted to go specifically to I was telling people that when I was 5 years old, I'm going to go to NYU film school. And and that comes from actually seeing something on some news thing, and it was an interview with Woody Allen, um, whose movies I saw when I was 5, like on VHS, because again, my siblings were a lot older, so I had access to the stuff. So I wasn't watching so much kid programming, and for me, what was I loved. I was probably the only, like, little kid. Now this is all probably getting weird when I think about this, like Woody Allen and his whole story. But what I loved was the sort of the the worlds he created, which were just about these people. And then I knew he went to NYU. So I do feel like I have to say that because it's kind of erasing this whole thing where it's like I knew about what a director was, what it was to write these movies, what it was to like make these worlds, and wanting to be in New York. All that came from Woody Allen, which I know now it's like people are like, oh my God, you can't say Woody Allen, but I'm saying it just because
Okay,
that is,
I'm gonna
yeah.
say this. I'm gonna say this. Whatever Woody Allen did, as far as what he did with his
And we don't
stepdaughter,
know, right?
it's like anything else. You have to divide. What I don't like about this is I don't like the selective outrage. You can't be mad at Woody Allen without being mad at everybody who's had their hand in the pot. You just can't. I'm not going to dismiss the fact that Woody Allen's movies. I enjoy watching Woody Allen. I never really was a Woody Allen fan until I got older, until I appreciated it. He's
Hmm.
funny as hell. And he's a very good film director, and I enjoy his films, and I know, and it's like what he did off camera. I mean, that's between him and Mia. As far as I'm concerned, Mia Farrow. That's between those two, and who I think the fact that if you looked up to him as one of the inspirations for you, I think it's amazing. I think he's a great as far as filmmaking goes. He's a great role model. You're looking at him as a role model for filmmaking. You're not asking to sit there at his dinner table and have a steak and rice. You're sitting there looking like, how can I learn from this man as far as applying it to his skills, applying it to my own. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you saying that Woody, you like Woody, because I do too, and I think everybody
So
here, yeah.
so yeah. So I loved early. I someone oh movies that really affected me that I thought, God, I want to do that. Um, Definitely Pedro Almodovar. Another thing where I couldn't believe, like, movies could do that. Because movies you see at in your suburban mall, you don't see Pedro Almodovar movies, and so, and I had limited access. Like DC, it was like, you have a few theaters, and it's different now. But I'm just, when I was like little, and still, and it was before it was so easy to get things where it's just like, yeah, you get it online. You couldn't. And so Pedro Almodovar, I think it's the really personal stories. Um, Before Sunrise, that movie hit me again.
Mhm.
It's just it's the movies that really focuses on the people, the characters. So it's like the character driven directors are what really kind of got to me
Yeah,
early, and still, yeah,
I do too. I love a good drama. I do. I like a good.
yeah, yeah.
I like it when there's really good dialogue. I can appreciate that. I really can. And most film lovers, they love that. That's a great movie to mention too. Before Sunrise, movies like that are
Oh,
heavy on dialogue, and it's
it's
like,
all they do is talk.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's why, like, one of my favorite screenwriters is David Mamet. That guy could sit on
yeah,
that guy could sit on a stage and read from the phone book. I'd be in the front row center. That guy's amazing. He's amazing. His yeah.
yeah.
I
Nothing's
like
blowing up. It's just talking. Yeah.
right. Ah. Now, now, how did you? What did you? How old were you when you started to write? I mean, here you go. You got some of these good directors, good screenwriters, in your ear. How old were you when you started to attempt to write your first screenplay? And what was your screenplay? I know you know what it was. What was your first screenplay about?
I don't think I'd written. Well, I went to the formal film school thing, so I had to do it. You get thrown into that when you're a freshman.
Mm,
So I was like 17, 18, writing these things, and actually, that point, it was probably when you go in there. It's not a lot of writing. Your projects are pretty much, you get, it's like, here's a camera, now go, and you get an afternoon to film something. So the writing is not the kind where you sit there at your computer. That comes a little later. So I guess I was probably, when I was attempting my first real kind of something for like my thesis project, something a little bit longer for, I was probably about 20,
okay, okay.
maybe 19.
And they gave
And
you a camera and told you to go shoot.
well,
Wow.
they do that when you first get into school. They give you a care, and that's that's what these classes are. They're like real, like almost like trade school. It's like, here's a camera, now go, which I think is great. I think it's great. It's not like you yeah, it's
Right.
not like a lot of writing and plan. It's like, go, let's see what you can do, which is great. And I think there's the classic thing, because when you go to NYU and you're school and you're in the village, and you get people coming from all over the world. Sometimes it's really, and I'm laughing because I have taught some classes at NYU, and so I see that it happens. Beyond when I was in school, everyone gets sort of, they become entranced by something they see in the city, and I think something a lot of kids have not been exposed to, depending on where they come from. um, Homeless people. And so everyone, it's like, I think probably 50% of those freshman year films are about encountering homeless people for the first time. And so, there's, I think that's the whole thing about really wanting to be exposed to so much. I mean, yeah, I can't tell you how many movies like that come out of NYU, but that was probably those early things. Everyone has to get it out of their system. It's just like being the shock value of being in New York, and so probably my earliest screenplay, something that I actually had to write down, was probably something similar to that. Like, oh my God, coming across
I,
someone
I'm just
you don't
I'm
meet in suburbia. Yeah,
I'm just thinking to myself. I'm going like, man, talk about like. I mean, I've heard you've heard the term sink or swim, but Jesus, it's like, here's the camera. Okay, now we're gonna throw you in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean.
yeah,
Now you got to go shoot something in New York City. That's different from, like, from Silver Springs. It's like, okay, here's the
yeah,
camera, go to Silver Springs. It's like, that's really quiet compared to New York City.
yeah, yeah.
How did you handle that without becoming overwhelmed? Like there's like there's too much to shoot. You don't know what to shoot, and you don't know how to shoot it. 17,
You,
18-year-old thing is like, okay, go shoot me something. Well, like what?
well, I will say in that aspect, the thing I said before, where NYU doesn't prepare you for the real world, because I thought I was going to go, and direct a movie 5 years out of film school after a few years writing, right? I was going to be slumming it as a writer, and I was just so delusional. But in that respect, I think it's quite real, because they do. It's not like they're like, we've reserved this part of Central Park for you to shoot in. They don't give that to you. You're just like, you're running into like a deli, say, can I shoot here? Oh my God. I mean, you really learn how to deal with, and you've got people walking by, and someone has to say, please don't walk, we're trying to film something, and everyone's pissed off at you because you're blocking part of the sidewalk, or you're interfering with I mean, so that part is really difficult, and that part is closest to real life, where it is they're putting you out there, and you're stressed out, and you're sweating, and you're like running, sometimes you're running from the police who are shooing you out of a location, and all that is very real. And so that's the hard part, but it's also fun, and it's also very much like it is when you're doing like indie film and you don't have a huge budget. Yeah. And that's how it is.
A little guerrilla filmmaking. I like it.
Yeah.
Of course, all the the cops know is like they probably go in there. Well, like, okay, there's a brand new crop of NYU students coming out. We know they're coming with the camera, so let's go everywhere where we know they're going to be, because everybody's going to want to shoot the Statue of Liberty. Everyone's going to want to shoot 42nd Street.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think they're sort of waiting for you guys. Bobby's asking a question. Our friend Betty J. Gathers is in the house, and our friend Anna came in, and Lady J. Gould, hello. Lady J says, a very beautiful woman. Yes, she is. And everything. Hello to everybody. Bobby wants to know this. He says, what was harder to get, your film degree or the computer science degree? That's a really good question, because at that point, because you got your degree computer a little further down the road, and after you cut your teeth at film school. So what was easier for you? I mean, I sort of see you both. I sort of see you working hard at your computer science degree, but I sort of see you looking over your shoulder, because this is not what you want. You want to do that.
Right. Well, yeah. So I that's exactly right. And so I'll say film school was great, because I was thinking, I'm going out there and I'm going to go make movies. I got into this great film school. That was my dream, and so I'm all set up. I'm all ready. Just to be clear, my foray living in LA to launch my film career, to proudly introduce myself, because they were all going to be so thrilled to meet me. That lasted 2 weeks. Because that's how long my parents gave me to, like, you're saying it's so easy, you're going to go be a writer, your professors say
they gave you 2 weeks to establish yourself?
2 weeks to find a job in LA, because I was saying, I'm going to get a writer's job. All my teachers say I'm a great writer, so I'm sure it won't take me more than 2 weeks. They're like, so 2 weeks, you can stay in a hotel 2 weeks, and when you get a job. And so I will say, I mean, it didn't happen. It was a ridiculous proposition on every level. Didn't happen. And so it wasn't that long a break. And I was back in school where I was comfortable.
Did your instructors tell you that, when, did they tell you that, you go out there in LA and it will be that easy? Did they tell you that?
Well, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you, look, you're all headed to being Oscar winners. But, obviously there are so many. When you're at NYU, you've got all the, Scorsese, Spike Lee, Woody Allen, all so many of the greats did come through NYU. And so in your head, I think we all have a level of that delusion, and they should just tell you right off the bat, look, you know what? A few of you are going to do big things, but only a few of you, and there are a lot of you here. And I think that's probably a bit of realism you need to have kind of really hit hard into your brain at the beginning, which they don't do. So they don't tell you you're all going to be great, you're all going to be Spike Lee. They don't tell you that, but they don't not tell you that, which is
what they
big
should,
difference.
which they
Which they
should.
should. And so I wish
Temper,
once
they
it was
should temper expectations.
yeah, they should absolutely temper expectations. And I don't know how you really do this, but I think, and you even have to say things like, you know what, some of you, if you're a woman, if you're a woman of color, it's going to be harder still. I think that's that's something that needs to be said. So I wish there was a little more of that realism in film school. But you're absolutely right that when I was studying computer science and getting my graduate degree in that, it was harder because I didn't know what was going to happen there at the end, because I was delusional in film school and thought I was going off to Hollywood. So it was great. It was like I was going to go make movies and do all these great things. But with working, I didn't know. It's like I didn't know what I was going to do. So that was tough, and it was because I didn't have some set view in my head, and like all the things that people want to do. You want to work at Google. You want to do that wasn't like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. I didn't really know. So for me, the actual school part, I've always been a good student. Like it wasn't, I work hard. So being a student wasn't, but what was hard is just knowing what was going to come after. And with graduate school, I was just like, I didn't know. And that was very scary.
Was film school your first experience with professional competition, competitiveness? I mean, did you see people just like, were you guys in your class, were you all supportive, or did you sense there was a competitiveness to it?
Uh, both. I think you get people just like you do, you know, in the professional world. You have people who are great, who just want to help you, who are very supportive, and there is a lot of competition. And I feel like this is an expose on NYU, but I'll tell you one more thing, which is really bad. And they don't tell you is once you get to your senior year and you're making people are making their thesis films. Well, you compete to do that, meaning I think one out of every like you have a crew of six. And there's only one director and one film. Everyone else, someone has to become the sound designer. Someone is the cinematographer. Someone is the editor. Someone's the producer. But you know what? All of you pitched to make a film, to write and direct. Now, occasionally someone will have someone else write, but everyone, that's a director seminar, and every group of six, five didn't get to make a film. And you know what? That's rough. That's rough because then you've got five people, it's like that's people are very competitive. People are and they should be, because that's what they're up against. They're up against they get to have the movie that goes to the NYU festival, maybe goes to festivals beyond that, or you're that person's sound design, which is not, there are people who are very passionate about that. But if you're in that class to direct, that's why you're in that class. And so it is, yeah, it's that too is a little bit maybe too realistic, too much like the real world, where there are a lot of people. When I was looking for producer for my film, it's like everyone is a writer. I haven't met any producer who doesn't have screenplays. And so I think everyone is trying hard most people have something they would like to direct, they would like to make. And so there's always that sense, that there's there's competition all the time, and it does, yeah. In film school, that's probably the most brutal part of being a directing student at NYU is, and I did get to make a film, and yeah, I felt bad the entire time because everyone who was on my crew, most of them, were very disappointed not directing their own film.
Well, you know what? Not everybody can direct their own film. I mean, not. I mean, if you're directing your film now, let's talk about the your latest film that you're directing. Let's do that because you directed you now. Is this your third film you're directing, or is this your second film that you're directing now?
This is it depends on definition, because I've done a lot of stuff. And I've produced um other films, other indie shorts. But this is really, I think, the first film that's mine. That's I wrote.
How soon
It's
is what?
really
How soon
how
is
soon
now?
is now. Yeah, yeah. So
Um.
I would say it's my first.
Okay. Okay. So
That's just
let's
me.
just talk. Let's talk about that because I do want to talk about that. I mean, for sure. Now, um, it looks fantastic, and
Thank you.
I'm looking at your casting, and it looks absolutely solid. I mean, so talk to us about the movie itself. Um, it definitely, I can see it has some. Your life has some influence on it. The
Yeah.
synopsis says the grieving software engineer, um, but now it says here a grieving software engineer spends his life perfecting a deep learning artificial intelligence intended to become the first AI CEO of a major corporation. Man, that's a hell of a story to write for a first film. Um, was this is did you get the idea of that from your past experience from your experience as a computer engineer your own career? Did you come up with the idea from that?
A little bit, and just to be clear that it's not. I'm not such a I'm not in there like open AI wouldn't hire me to code AI. I'd be there looking at aspects of product integration, like the interface and things like that. So I just to say that I'm not someone who would go in there and actually from bottom up be designing an AI. That's not my. That's not. Some people might be nitpicky about that. Like that. That's not what I do. But for me, what I explore really is that human side of how we humans interact with the machines and how to make that seamless. And and we see, and I think we don't realize every day with our how our phones, they're like another part of us, right? We whether it's watching TV, whether it's listening to music, and how much of what we do is we are dealing with algorithms. And I feel like how much we are affected, like if some algorithm changes. I mean, this happens with when any sort of social media platform changes out, and suddenly you're seeing different things. We get so affected, and I feel like we haven't explored that side that much, how much we are affected by machines, but emotionally. And so I don't know, that those wheels were kind of like turning, and I wanted to do something about that, about someone so deeply emotionally involved with an AI, and knowing and kind of appreciating how much, say, you know what, I can be myself because this person, this entity, let's say,
It won't
this
judge me.
present, it's not going to judge, it doesn't have feelings. And that's why it feels so safe with it. Only what does that do? I mean, I think we do get pulled in, and as these AIs get more and more sophisticated, as they and the one thing they can do is like they're learning from you, right? They learn. The thing about them is that they change, they get to know you, and that's why you're, you know Spotify gets to know you better, right? Suddenly it's like you don't even need to tell it. I feel like listening to this kind of, it's like it's there. It's in your daily mix. Like how did it know? It's like it knows these things. So AIs, they get to know you, and I
It is,
feel like
that's sort of terrifying, because I've had that
yeah.
before where I've typed in a Google, I've done a search for something. I'll search in, let me search in, Michael Jordan. I'll go ahead, okay, and whatever. And then like the next day or a few hours later, I'll sign on there. And next thing I know, all I see is nothing but Michael Jordan staring back at me. Ads,
Mhm.
videos, YouTube videos, news articles. And it's like, you got that
Podcasts,
based
sure.
on one search, and all of a sudden now we got that coming back at us. I don't know about anybody else, but man, I hate that. It feels like an invasion. It's like just because I typed in the name, it doesn't mean I want to be seen. I don't want to be overwhelmed by it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Jeff Clark is also a peer. He is a director and an actor, and he says, "Dropping in now. I got to see this film. How soon is now? What is the timeline for release so we can all check it out?" That's a good question. How far are we along with How soon is now? I know you dropped a trailer for it.
So that is a trailer for the short, which is 18 minutes long, and that's we're this close to being done submitting to festivals. So we're extremely close. And here's something that um you know I want to explore. Patrick, something I was bringing up on in threads just about. Here's one thing where I think all these films go to festivals, and shorts in particular, there really isn't a distribution model. I mean, a little bit, like like there are a couple of shorts you can find on Netflix, like a couple of the best that one best live action Oscar. Those sometimes make it on net. Most don't. So that's actually something I'm thinking about, because for me there's a feature script that I'm hoping to make very soon, and that's sort of floating out there, looking to get that developed. So the short is very close. The the feature I hope is not far behind, because it is in part a proof of concept for the feature. But I yeah, there is a trailer, which
Um, now, do you control for all your projects? Are you control? Do you control everything about the filmmaking process? I mean, are not only the writer and the director, are you also the casting director? Do you do your own cinematography, or um, no, no?
no. And I
How did you find your actors for your films? How do you find them? Do you rely on other people to cast your projects, or do you have you
yes,
would you okay. Um
and I think that's maybe one of the a lot of NYU here, but benefit of going to a school like NYU, where you go to school and you meet, you do have this network of people. I know an incredible casting director, and let me just drop her name, Erica A. Hart. She's amazing. She's amazing, incredible. So it's casting is crazy. Like if you put something on actors, it's like you can get so many people, but a good casting director knows, they read the script, they bring it together, they know who they think will fit, and obviously who you can afford, who you might be able to afford, who's open to working on a short, because even though they're very established, they like to try new things with new directors, with new material, and so they're open to this kind of thing, or people who are still coming up. And so I think a casting, I got very lucky there, and I will say that I think that's something that that the acting, I'm so proud of, you know, what I did as a director, because the actors we got were just perfect. I think they were perfectly cast, and that's a lot of that is Erica, who really, she just brought it down to this list of these are who the people you should be looking at. And so no, I don't do casting. I didn't do. I had an amazing cinematographer, also my co-producer Luke Geisbuehler. He shot the Borat movies. He shot you know,
Oh,
all
wow.
of Michael Moore's recent documentaries. You know, he shot Helvetica, the document. So he's like, and
Really
he's
good.
just so. I think you'll see that's where we put them. I put the money. I put the money in hiring good people, and the sound is good. I have um, Rob Alexander who does a lot of TV shows. He's amazing, and so I think on that technical, on the production side, you don't. I wouldn't be able to shoot a film like Luke could. Not anywhere close. And so just sort of giving that to him and saying casting Erica, is we're partners in that. And yeah, I didn't edit myself. I had
But
a
the cool
great
thing
great
about
editor.
it, the cool thing about it though, Mia, is the fact that, like I said before, you're just getting started, so you're still learning as you go. And I
Yeah.
think with every project that you get completed, it's going to make you much stronger. And I can definitely see taking over certain aspects of what you want on screen, like a casting wise and whatnot. I can see you, more. I can see you doing more screenplays, more of your own screenplays. I can see,
Hmm.
being more assertive. I mean, you've proven yourself already. I mean, you already, for such a small body of work, really, it's really impressive. It really is. I mean, you can definitely see where you're going to go with it. It's like you definitely keep an eye on you. This is one of those things where someone like Bobby would be writing in a film thread. He'd be reviewing this, and he's the type of thing that he would be writing like, this is a director you want to keep an eye on. I mean, I do that
Well,
too. Whenever I see a first time director, and I'll always sit there and say, oh yeah, I want to see. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. I think you fall into that category. Like, it's exciting to see what you're going to do. A lot of times it's like you see a movie, like it's really good, and it's like it's okay or it's good, and then that's it. But there's some directors out there that just have a little bit extra on there. There's something a little bit more intangible there to make their films pop out a little bit more, and you want to keep your eye on what they're doing. I definitely feel that that will be you. I
well,
cannot wait. I cannot wait to see where this is going to take you. Now, will this be your first film that you take into festival? Because I think Jeff is actually oh okay. Let me go back up here. Let me come up here to the chat real quick. I got to read that. Our friend Mike, and also a fellow interviewer, Mike is here. Did you see that? Hello, Mike. He's from the UK. Um, our friend Dell says, that's happened to me more times than I can count. Oh, yeah, we're talking about how the phones can pick up what we're saying too, and they also can start feeding information to us.
yeah.
Um, and then Jeff says he's a New York local actor, and looking for work. Just saying hello, just saying Holly, and he's a really good actor. I'll tell you that right now. Hey, Pat Master,
I
how are you? How are you? Greetings, greetings. And this is the thing about it is, what's really cool about this, Jeff. What's really cool about Mia is the fact that she has a Rolodex, which is something that we don't always see here. It means we don't, a lot like we were talking about this before about how a lot of people will meet together on a project, and as soon as the project is over with, that's the last time you see them until you do something again. But Mia is she is from the John Ford school of doing things, which means that she keeps all the important people real close to her heart. When she needs skilled people, skilled operators, she has them right there. More directors really need to do that. It truly blows my mind that more performers and more artists are. I'm not saying you have to get together for a dinner every week or whatnot, but calling somebody once a month up there and saying, "Hey, how are you? How are things going? That sort of thing. I've totally. I just feel like more. I think more directors, more artists would have. I think it was more collaborative if there was more of human contact. You know, it was just which was actually what we're talking about. The lack of human contact with the AI and humans. You know, they can connect, but there's not humanity in AI, but there's humanity in other artists, and it's sort of surprising when you see that there's not as much contact as you think there would be. Okay, I think that might have been too soapboxy, but you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yep. Jeff mentions Pat Bradley and I talk all the time, and Pat Bradley's another excellent screenwriter and director as well. Yes, yes, yeah. That's how I feel about it. Um, I noticed that I want to talk real quick about this because I was really excited to see this, and I was going to ask you if you could walk us through this. But you did a show called The Myth of Control. Tell us a little bit about that show and how did you get on there?
That was right done smack like heart of quarantine, and that was when nobody was working at all in film, and I still had my corporate tech job, which I had until a year ago. Um, and a friend of mine, Mikhail Chaudhry, he decided, and we were based in DC at the time. I've been in LA just about a year. He decided, he wants to try and do something creative about about this new this new world we're living in. And I think the whole idea behind Myth of Control is that there was so much self-reflection, right? Suddenly you don't, you're stuck in your own house, your own mind. And so it was 7 stories centered on that, and I think everyone's a little sick of COVID era stories. Probably it's just too close now. So, but at the time, the whole thing is somehow we're gonna make it work. And so everyone we shot with iPhones, and God, what were they at the time? Like iPhone, like an iPhone 12. And we directed remotely using an app called Filmic. So I directed an episode, I produced the series, so we brought together, I forget how many people at the end. It was like 80 people across, several continents, and it was an amazing experience. And then one episode of that got pulled out, and did the festival circuit as a short film called Amy Victoria. And so that was a great experience. It was doing something in that was so collaborative in a time when everyone was so stuck in their own world. And the whole series is about that. And so that is something, again, like I said, because once we were done, I think, and people were coming out of quarantine, I think it was difficult for people to want to dive in and see people stuck, because it was fiction, it was, narrative series, but everyone was literally stuck in their homes. And so it was like their roommate or their partner was doing the shooting, and we had someone sort of like guiding. It was like a guiding cinematographer, but they were somewhere else, and so everyone was somewhere else. And so it was a very interesting experience.
Mm.
But I think it's something that once we were done, people were like, we can't go there. So we'll see. It's not something that's been released, but I'm very proud of. I'm particularly proud of how we brought together so many people from kind of all over
They
to do
haven't.
it.
It hasn't been released yet. The series.
No, no, no. And I think, again, like I said, once we were done, which, because it was didn't have a huge budget, didn't, it was shopping it around. People were like, God, nobody wants to see people stuck in quarantine. We just got out. We can't look at it. So I would say it's kind of on the shelf because of that. It's just
Yeah,
too
it's people.
much too soon right now.
It looks absolutely fascinating, and you had a little star power to it. I saw what really caught my eye with not only did you direct an episode, but I saw that Ted Lang also directed an episode.
Yeah, he's great, and I didn't. Yeah.
Did you all you directors, did you guys all meet together on through Zoom and
No, no.
talk about your
Well,
episodes?
yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I did because I was also producing the whole series, so I did meet him. So I got to see him shoot, and it was, yeah. So that was interesting too, because you don't often see. It's hard, you because we were doing it over Filmic, and so you have all these Zoom screens. We could see it, and and so he was great. I didn't realize honestly, I didn't know that much about him, but he's done so much, and
Yeah.
such a pro. And so,
Man,
yeah, he
now
was great.
I really want to see this now. So who do we yell at about that? Who
I
have
don't I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is what I'm
yeah,
saying. It's like I feel like I'm saying I'm gonna get back to everyone and tell you, but I gotta do it first, right? I gotta have all these things up there and say this is how I did it, because I promise. I make that promise. I'm gonna come back and say this is how I did it, and this is how
mhm.
you can do it too, because nobody no one looks back and says, okay, I figured it out, this is what I did. Nobody. And I kind of swear on my life that I will come back and tell people how it gets done, if I figure it out. I don't know, that's not a guarantee at all, I understand that. If I do, I'll be back to tell those stories.
So the short will be it's called How Soon Is Now. It's in
Yes,
post production right now, and it will be hitting
at the
the
very
festival.
end. Yeah.
It'll be hitting the circuit later on
Yes,
this year, and we'll keep an eye out for it. And I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us tonight, Mia.
thank you so much for having
Absolutely
me.
fascinating talk. Absolutely amazing chat. I so appreciate it, and
Thank you
thank you
so
so much.
much. Thank you
I
so
had a
much.
lot of fun with this one, and I can tell my
Me
chat
too.
did too, and I really do appreciate that. Bobby, Bobby's asking those hard hitting movie journalist questions. He's asking if you have a pet, because him and I we own cats. Do you have a pet?
I have a dog. I have a German Shepherd, an 11-month-old German Shepherd who kind of like rules my life
Right,
because,
right.
yeah.
That's a good question to have, though. That's a good thing to have. Now, are
Yeah.
you now based back in LA, or are you back on the East
Yes.
in LA
No,
now?
I'm based in LA. Yeah.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming out. Of course, everybody here. Thank you to the chat. I want to thank you for coming out and supporting us. Jim, Pat Master came on in. Jennifer's here. So many of you guys came out. Thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know. We will be back tomorrow night with Brandon Rhines. Brandon Rhines will be here tomorrow. He is the owner operator of Higher Universe Pictures, and he's a Canadian filmmaker based out of Edmonton. He directed Grotesque 1 and 2, and I Am Haunted, one of my favorite films of the year so far. I'm Haunted is amazing. And we will be talking to Brandon tomorrow night at 8 o'clock at 8 p.m. And then Thursday, we were talking with metal sculpture and artist Greg Scorpion will be here with us at 8 o'clock. Yes, metal sculptors are ruling. They really do rock. And Greg Scorpion will be with us on Thursday at 8 o'clock as well. Um, Thank you to the chat. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Mia, stay right where you are for a minute. And to the rest of you guys, don't forget the Boneyard tonight at 10:30 on Mr. Bones' channel. He will be up and running. So stop by and say hi to Mr. Bones. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Have a great night and be safe. Peace.